Is Saudi Arabia sabotaging Pakistan's $1.5 billion air arsenal just as Iran issues fresh threats, forcing Islamabad to freeze a massive Sudan weapons deal? Is MBS getting desperate as Iran openly threatens Saudi Arabia's alternative to Hormuz? Pakistan's export dreams hit turbulence as its big defense push to Sudan suddenly stumbles. Has one of Islamabad's largest overseas arms packages just been sacrificed to Gulf geopolitics? Did a Sudanese general's pro-Iran rant sink a major defense pact after he denounced Gulf states and urged Tehran to target critical desalination infrastructure? Pakistan suspended a $1.5 billion arms deal with Sudan on Saudi Arabia's demand, according to multiple reports, after Riyadh withdrew its financial backing. Saudi Arabia reportedly urged Islamabad to immediately terminate the defense agreement with Sudan, advising Pakistan to halt the package rather than proceed without Saudi financing. The deal was intended to help restore the Sudanese armed forces' air superiority over the rapid support forces by significantly upgrading Sudan's air power. Riyadh pulled its financial backing for the deal after a Sudanese general made pro-Iran remarks, prompting concern in Saudi Arabia over Iranian influence in Sudan's military. A viral video showed General Tariq al-Hadi Kajab denouncing Saudi Arabia and Qatar, sharply criticizing the Gulf monarchy's role in the region. The general also reportedly urged Iran to attack the Gulf's desalination infrastructure, calling for strikes on critical facilities that supply water to Gulf states. Suspension of the deal halts one of Pakistan's largest overseas defense packages, which had been seen as a showcase for its weapons export industry. The package included aircraft, drones, missiles and air defense systems, according to reports, reflecting a comprehensive effort to rebuild Sudan's air combat capability. Sudan was set to receive 10 K-8 light attack aircraft and more than 200 reconnaissance and kamikaze drones under the agreement, dramatically boosting its aerial surveillance and strike options. The deal also covered Super Mushak trainer aircraft and possibly JF-17 Thunder multi-role jets, expanding both training capacity and frontline fighter strength. Advanced air defense systems were included to counter hostile drone threats, aiming to protect key Sudanese military and infrastructure sites from RSF and other attacks. Saudi Arabia's withdrawal exposes a widening rift with factions inside Sudan's military, particularly elements perceived as leaning toward Iran or diverging from Riyadh's line. The Sudanese armed forces continue to face a costly war of attrition against the rapid support forces since April 2023, with both sides suffering heavy losses. The rapid support forces have expanded drone-based reconnaissance and precision strikes, increasingly using UAVs to hit SAF positions and logistics. Saudi Arabia had earlier backed Sudanese armed forces leader Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, supporting him diplomatically and financially against the RSF. However, Riyadh now seeks to avoid deeper involvement in a complex proxy conflict in Sudan, reports indicate, reflecting a shift away from direct military entanglement. Western pressure has also pushed Saudi Arabia to avoid direct military backing in Sudan, with allies urging Riyadh to limit arms funding in African conflicts. The deal's collapse also weakens Pakistan's defense export ambitions globally, undercutting a flagship contract that would have showcased its JF-17 and other platforms. Meanwhile, Sudan's war reflects broader Red Sea and Horn of Africa rivalries, where regional and extra-regional powers compete for ports, resources, and influence. Gulf states are split in the conflict, with the UAE accused of backing the Rapid Support Forces faction, while Saudi Arabia and others have tilted more toward the Sudanese army. Saudi Arabia's move also came as Iran publicly listed targets it said it would strike if US and Israeli attacks resumed. Iran's Tasnim News released what it described as an IRGC-linked target list on April 21st, as fresh warnings surfaced over how Tehran could respond if the war restarts. The IRGC would reportedly target the Yanbu pipeline system in Saudi Arabia, which is widely seen as a major alternative route for oil exports that bypasses the Strait of Hormuz. Iran's military would also reportedly target the UAE's Fujairah oil facilities and the Bab al-Mandeb Strait, both of which are central to efforts to reroute energy flows away from Hormuz. If Iran were to hit those three pressure points, the impact on global crude oil supply could be severe because Yanbu, Fujairah, and Bab al-Mandeb all serve as key alternatives or choke points for international energy shipments. The warning came amid reports that US Vice President J.D. Vance may depart the United States for Pakistan on April 21st for the next round of diplomacy. Iran also said it is preparing a decisive and immediate response to any renewed enemy threat, underscoring that its military posture remains on high alert despite the diplomatic track. Major General Abdullahi issued that warning as suspense continued to build over the next round of talks in Pakistan, and over whether Tehran would fully commit to attending. Major General Ali Abdullahi said, and I quote, "Today, the heroic nation of Iran is proud of the authority, preparedness, and all-round strategic capabilities of the IRGC and other forces of the defenders of the homeland, which have driven the Zionist enemy and terrorist America to desperation and exhaustion with deadly and destructive missile and drone strikes and forced them to call for a desperate ceasefire. The people of Iran have not abandoned their support for the armed forces with their enthusiastic and widespread presence in the squares and streets. The brave armed forces of Iran, together with the noble and surprising government and nation of Iran, are united in full compliance with the measures of the Supreme Commander-in-Chief, preparing decisive and immediate responses to the threats and actions of the enemy. The armed forces, with a superior hand, did not allow the false and delusional President of America to abuse and make false narratives about the situation in the field and the conditions of silence in the military battle, especially in the management and control of the Strait of Hormuz, and they will respond appropriately to any violation of the covenant. Trump may not be ready to extend the two-week truce with Iran as the deadline approaches, with the ceasefire now entering its final hours and fresh doubts growing over whether he wants to prolong the pause in fighting. The Wall Street Journal made that revelation on April 20th, citing sources who said Trump was unlikely to keep the ceasefire in place if no agreement is reached before the current deadline runs out. The two-week ceasefire in Iran is set to expire on April 22nd amid rising uncertainty over the talks, leaving negotiators under pressure as the diplomatic window appears to be narrowing fast. Notably, Iran has not publicly confirmed attendance in the second round of peace talks, and official Iranian messaging has continued to cast doubt over whether Tehran is fully on board. But Iran has signaled to mediators that it intends to send a delegation, according to reports, suggesting Tehran may still be keeping the door open for diplomacy despite its public hesitation.
$25 करोड़ गरीब गरीबी को परास्त करके बाहर निकले।
For the good of our nation, let's work together and let's truly make America great again.
The fastest news breaks.
Requested PM saying that look, you will have to speak to Putin and to Zelensky.
The biggest news makers.
The relationship with India is probably the most important bilateral relationship the U.S. will have for the rest of this century.
The capital delivered quite an election result today.
Expert analysis.
The million-dollar question today is how to stop this dance of death.
Ground reports.
I'm standing at the crossroad of the Kumbh Mela. Behind me are more than 100 entry guards.
Long-form interviews.
Exclusionary politics is reflected in Manipur case as well. You don't bother because this is a small state.
Deep dive into burning issues.
It's often said DRC could be the richest country in the whole world. It's because of what sits underneath.
Why exactly did the US topple the Sheikh Hasina government?
HT videos. We don't just break news, we break it down.